welcome to another monthly reading of February 2020. And I'm very sorry that I was a little bit late this month. Life, it gets on the way sometimes, but I'm here. And this month I wanted to do, well, as you see, I'm in a different setting, also because I wanted to use a better microphone, because last month or last 2 months, the sound was a little bit difficult. And since I'm doing also a version where it's only audio for you guys to listen to me through the podcast, so I thought it was better to increase the quality of the audio, because then it's very difficult probably to just listen to a very bad audio, and it's not nice. Anyway, there's also a different thing that I wanted to do this month, in that I want to just take the cards as they come, instead of, because before, so let's say I will make you part of my creative process or my intuition process to get the information, whereas before I used to prepare that a little bit in advance and just kind of present you the information that I got. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe you find it more interesting, and it's also more interactive in a way. So yeah, let me know what you think about it, if you think it's interesting for you, or you just want the information straightforward and you don't want to kind of go through the process. And I also might or might not, depending if it feels right, I might include some other cards like these crystal cards, because sometimes it helps to kind of cross this information to have a clearer picture of what you are seeing in front of you. First card that I usually take is the overall energy of the month. So of the overall energy of the month of February, which I have here they are laying down here in front of me. So we'll just go through these cards, and I just see. I'll ask you also to, because even if you listen to this days after, or months after even, but suppose days after, you will tune in also without time. So you would have already been here with me at this time. So we'll ask you just for a second to also ask your guides if there's anything you need to know now, so that it can come through with what we are going to talk about as your guides. And I ask my guides to help me to interpret this information in the best possible way for us and for our embodiment of the divine self, or the Christic energy, into this time-space reality. Because basically I think this is what we come here to do. So let's see. So I will pick now a card for the overall energy of the month of February 2020, for those of you who are listening or who are watching this video. Okay. Okay. And we have the card of, I don't know, because normally I put you on the screen these cards electronically, but you see now is a card of rage, and we've talked about that card many times. So when we talk about rage, it can be two things, and I have the feeling that is the second one. So there's two things. One is the heart, just as an energy center to open the heart and to be present and to be allowing whatever is going on in your life to be, and to be open means also to receive and to give love, so that kind of exchange. And if you see, it's also green, like the chakra, like the heart chakra. So this letter rage is also talking about, in French is called courber la tête. So it would be also like lowering your head and really kind of making a bow in front of before something or someone. But it's not like how can I say? It's not like a submissive thing. It is more like surrendering to your heart, and not being always trying to maybe being your mind, in your rational mind, and trying to control everything from there, and trying to make sense of things through your mind always, but to really surrender or abandon yourself to this bigger reality, to this higher reality, to this divine order that is not seen through the eyes of reason, but is seen through the eyes of the heart. So this is mostly what Raj is talking about. And while I'm telling you this, the idea that is coming to me is that, especially when we are looking around at the events on the earth that are very confusing sometimes, and I can tell you for my own life, there are sometimes things that seem very confusing, like that sometimes you have not a clear idea of where you should go, what you should do, because there are many inputs to many different sides, and they look to be kind of opposite to each other. So the idea here is to really trust into this divine order of all things that are happening right now, that is also for a higher purpose. And for a higher purpose doesn't mean that you have to suffer them. It means that you can trust, because it's very different the feeling of how can I say that, resignation, to say like, yeah, okay, it's gonna happen, and this is my life, and it's gonna stay like this forever. No, it is not that the idea. The idea is to understand that there's a purpose of the things in a higher perspective that we are not able to see, because probably we are focused on our very and that's very material, very physical life, and that's okay too. There's no judgment about it, but it's also about that maybe we are not seeing the whole picture yet, and we don't know what that event or what those chaotic events outside are going to bring to us. The other day I was looking at some news. Let me see, what was that? Because there are so many news these days that are a bit dramatic. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the exact details, but what the event I don't remember. But what was really impressive, was really wonderful for me, and really remarkable in that specific event, is that chaotic event kind of sparked. Oh yeah, now I remember. So there are these storms. There's snowstorms in the north of Canada, in the west coast, I think. No, in the east coast. Sorry. They are very, very. They are kind of unexpected, because they are much bigger than they normally are. And there was a woman that was disabled, and that was kind of like forced to stay in, and she was alone, and she was kind of scared, because there was no possibility, of course, for her to kind of like take a shovel and dig out some kind of a pathway for her to kind of get out of her house. And at the same time, there was this TV program, just to tell you, where there were people kind of talking to these people who were maybe just listening to those around them, to kind of encourage them, and knowing that they were supported, that they were there for them if they were needed. And this woman was calling back saying, I felt so much support, and I felt so less alone and less scared, because you were out there broadcasting your program, while I was here probably in the dark, because there was no electricity, and I felt isolated because there was a mountain of snow outside of my door. So those are the things that for me are sometimes giving you a hint of why are these things happening. And these things at the end are opening people up to ask sometimes for help, or actually to offer help, and to be connected from a very different perspective, from the heart. Whereas if there were nothing would be happening, if things will be like normal, everyone will be in this little shell, and not contacting everyone or helping anyone. And so these difficult circumstances or challenging circumstances, sometimes it really will prompt us to do or act in different ways. And I think that's the whole thing. So really, to break down, we were talking about this since last year, I don't know when, about these astrological events, how they are really precursors of this dissolution of structures. And those are the structures also, the structures that we have outside of ourselves. So these armors that we have around ourselves to kind of protect us, or to protect this small self or the ego from whatever we think that is attacking us, right? Especially with this rhetoric now that we hear about the thing that is different, the person that is different. That's the one we have to be scared of, that we are divided and we have to be protective of our stuff, because the one who comes from another country will come and take away everything that we have. I mean, things like that. And it's just based on fear. And fear is not aligned with the divine self, for sure. Anyway, so these are more or less the energies of the month of February. So trust in the divine order of the things at large. So it is not the specific event now. Of course, it can be scary. Of course, it's confusing sometimes, but we don't know the whole information. We don't know all the information. We don't know everything of what is going on. So that's why it's important to surrender to the heart. What does your heart says? What does the heart is telling you right now? What is it? Is it telling you to get scared, or is it really telling you to relax and to know that things will be much better than what you ever thought possible? Which is also what I feel is the answer. So just to go on, I think it is good to do that now. I will take one of the other cards. So yeah, hope you'll be patient with me, because I think today is going to be longer than we normally go in these videos. So we take, anyway, we take a card of the crystals. And yeah, okay. And we have drawn, I don't know if you can see that there, it's the snowflake obsidian, sorry. And snowflake obsidian is normally talking about, we have been prepared for that, for this moment. It's almost, we have been for years in an incubation time, in a long incubation time, probably for the last 20 years, if you are old enough to remember what you were doing, or maybe if your adult life already started 20 years ago. So we have been preparing for this moment. It's not something that we just kind of landed on us, and just like somebody drop a bomb and then we are, oh my God, what are we going to do? So imagine the same situation, and I think that's really a useful idea. Imagine the same situation that you're living in right now, that it would have presented to you 20 years ago. How would you react to it? What were your tools, let's say? How was your connection to your higher self? What did you know about you? About I don't know, of how we are manifesting this reality also in our collective reality, how we are manifesting that in our agreements to everything that we say that is possible or not possible. So we have been preparing for this moment, and so the time has come. That's what they say with this card, the snowflake obsidian. It's talking about, we have been getting ready, and now we are ready. And now we are ready to also be able to go through this process and not losing. It doesn't mean that momentarily you cannot, but that we can trust the process. We can see the order of things in the divine order, let's say, in everything that we see in the world, even when the things that we see are not pleasing us, or they are difficult or challenging. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is the second card. This is the first card, sorry. And this was the overall energy of the month. Now, we take a second card, which is always the card that will tell us about how can we take advantage of this? What is it that they are recommending us to do? And this is what we're going to see. What is their suggestion? Their suggestion, I'm saying that they is like your guides, my guides. So the divine selves of everyone. So what is it that we can do to take it? Okay, yeah. Do you know this card? I mean, I think many of you have, I don't know, oh God, the reflection is really bad with the light. Okay, maybe here. So, yeah, there. Okay, so this is the, yeah, I hope you can see that. This is the card of Nun Final, and we have seen this card many times before, many times. In the last, I think, 4 readings, it has come every time. And this is a beautiful card, a beautiful card. It's one of the most challenging in a way, but it's a beautiful card. It's a beautiful card because it is, this is like this spade, is like this caliber. That is this spade that, this sword, sorry, that is actually talking about incarnation, about coming into the Christic light, into the density of the earth, and actually illuminating also what has been hidden, what has been kind of ignored, what has been thought as bad or as evil, and really loving it so much so that it kind of transform itself to this alchemizing process where this transforms into gold. That's why it's gold. So this transforms into light. So the dense vibration, the more lower vibration, goes into, let's say, illumination by realizing itself that is actually also part of the source, so it's also part of the creator. And this is the Christic light too. This is what the Christic energy is coming to do here. So really actualizing our idea of ourselves, of how we see ourselves, not seeing ourselves as a lump of flesh and bones and are human only, but really knowing that we are part of this Christic light, of this Christic energy that is actually the creator spark of divine spark in manifested form, and that is here to create in manifested form. So we are like extension of that source energy. And so Noon is actually talking about it's kind of a shadow work, if you want to call it that way. So some people call it that way, sorry. That is a shadow work. The shadow work is going to work with your shadow, means to love your shadow, to not be scared and really see it in the eye and look it in the eye and really allow yourself to get acquainted with that, so that you are not afraid of that, because that which you are afraid, it stays in the dark, it stays in the unknown. So you are invited this month to love your shadow part, the parts of you that you don't like about yourself, or that we don't like about ourselves, the parts of us that we are scared about looking at, and acknowledge and accept that. And most likely there are parts also that are that were also related to our wounding, or the wound itself. So yeah, we are asked to love so much that part of us that is unknown, so that it becomes light again. And we're going to take now another card to see what can be else, what else can be said about this card, like a clarifier for Nun Final with crystal cards. Okay, yeah. So we got the card of. You can see this. It's Amazonite. Amazonite. I don't know this card personally. I don't know this stone personally. I've never seen one. But just let me. Oops, sorry. Just let me read something here, because I don't know this card very well. This stone very well, but I do. Yeah. Yeah, it's so Amazonite is talking about kind of take some time off and really go into nature, or really be able to recharge yourself again, because Amazonite is yeah, it's really talking about coming back to center, and that we have sometimes we go out of balance, and normally we go out of balance because we are ungrounded, or because we are not able to, or we are just meeting the demands of our life, or requests of everyone that comes our way. And then at the end of the day, or at the end of 2 weeks, at the end of a month, we are completely dead. So we are really kind of charged with all the stuff from other people, or all the other problems of everyone, and we don't have time to really rest and recuperate and replenish our energy system. So so in the scope of the second card, let's say, so you also need to kind of we also need to take time off, take time to replenish, take time to recharge our batteries. And I always have this idea, and I think even now I hear that scientifics are discovering now, because then they discover the how do you call something that was very obvious, because each language is different. So the black thread is in one language, and the other one is the hot water in Italian, for instance. Anyway, they discover that microbes in the earth, in the soil, are actually antidepressants and stuff like that. Of course, they will never would be talking about that. Actually, the connection with the earth is what actually is giving us also a lot of this connection and energy and centering, but it's kind of the same idea, just explained in other terms. And so I think that's one of the key things. Even if you're living in a winter time now, take time to go into nature. Take time to, if you like gardening, I love gardening, I love plants, and I really just, I mean, any day that is a little bit sunny, I just go out and do some work for maintaining the garden or stuff like that. And I think that's a perfect way for you to really ground, if you like that. And if not, just go for a walk and do something that is related to nature, because nature really puts us back into track, and brings us back into the body, and so we can be calm and focused. And also, again, having our consciousness open enough so that we are able to not judge and condemn anything that we see about ourselves that we probably do not like, and be courageous enough to put it out there, and to put it in the light. Okay, so last card. The last card is the outcome. So what can we expect at the end of this month? Let's say, as a lesson learned, or something that we it's a bit of a linear way to think, but there could be a gift. I think this is best. The gift of this month. And let's take a card. The gift of this month. Yeah, okay. The gift of this month is Pe. It's been quite a long time like this, probably you can see that. Pe, and it's not Pe final, it's Pe normal, Pe. Well, Pace out. This is wonderful because actually, Pe is the realization of we as word. I mean, somebody uses. I think it's Paul Selig used this word as to say what in the Hebraic letters they use the word le verbe créateur. So this is really the word that creates. So this is realizing or being conscious or being aware or coming into awareness that we are the ones that are creating through speaking. Of course, word it's a I mean, word creates worlds, no? So we are creating worlds through our word, through whatever we speak about, whatever we think about, and we are creators in the manifested form. So that's we are extensions of Source that are creators of the manifested world, and this is this is the gift that is given to us this month while we are doing this process of knowing that we are part of in the first card, part of a wider and divine order of things that we have to be trusting that. And then Nun Final is really telling us that we are still on the very transformative process of alchemizing our shadow self by accepting that, by loving that, and embracing that. And Pe is really giving us the awareness. The gift of this month is really being aware that we are creators of our, not only of our reality, but it's more or less we are extensions. That I think that's the best description for me, at least right now, is being an extension of Source that creates worlds in the physical form, because that's why we are embodying in a body right now. And so that card, so let's see if we need a clarifier for Pe. So we've got Amber, and Amber is it has like two folds. On one hand, it can be about clarifying through a conflict, which is not always very pleasant, but sometimes you need that, because then you need to kind of know, then you know where you are, what your position is, where the other one is in respect of a subject or a theme. But I have the feeling that it's talking about more about the other aspect. Just through conflict, sometimes there's a clarification, a purification. But I would guess that Amber, in this case of Pe, is talking about a purification. Okay, now I get it. It's talking about purification of old identities, so what we were not. So and through this purification of all identities, and I think there's a huge shift of identities for everyone. So everything we believe that we were is kind of shaking off. And this is what Pe is talking about. So through the letting go or the shedding of all identities, so I'm a dad, and I don't know, I'm a healer or not, or I'm, so even the thing that you would be doing every day, you can just kind of putting into the, like questioning a bit that identity that you think that you are, and through this questioning, through this review of identities, things that we have said that we are also purifying ourselves, and we are allowing ourselves to create a new identity, and also to be aware that actually we are not that. We have agreed to be that identity, so we have created that identity, and then we live that. And so Pefinal is also talking about shuffling these identities, and but especially in a more, I would say, in a deeper way, is really reminding us. But the gift that is giving us is also not just reminding us, but maybe becoming really aware and knowing that we are the creators of the reality that is manifested. And we are, it's not that we are creators separated just in a human, just a human of ourselves, but we are extensions of source. And that's why when we concur to the idea of the divine self that we are, that is part of us, and that each one of us is part of a divine self, we are, we can become aware, and we can know that we are actually creators. And through the idea of the sorry, it's like I'm thinking in French, and it's like, so in the idea of the word as the one that is embodied and creates. So that's, but the word as the one that creates by the vibration of the words, for instance, is that's its vibration at the end. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching this video. For those of you who speak Spanish, there's going to be a seminar in Mexico very soon. So I just encourage you to go to my web page or to my Facebook feed, and you can see the event, the upcoming event. I hope you're doing fantastic. You have a wonderful month, and thank you very much for being here. See you next time. Bye-bye.